Well, here we're in eggplant. You guys remember that random where it would kind of cut out, spark, and then, run again fine? I think we have found the problem. Well, it is exacerbated. Oh, now it's going to run again. That's the first time it just caught spark. It won't run right now. I'm at work. I'm about to leave, or trying to. And it just won't run at all. That's the first time I just heard it cough. And we have fuel pressure, so it's not that. But we don't have spark at all, is what it appears. So something has happened, and we don't have spark, and I don't know why. So I want to try to figure that out, and we might have that nailed down. I have figured it out. It is the cable to the coil pack, the plug. I unplugged it. It had some dielectric grease on it, but too much. It got in the connector and not just on the seal, and I think it was causing it to not power the coil pack right. That's crazy. I'm drive it, get it home. Got a service engine light on right now. I'd like to know what that code is, and then we'll clean that up. That might be all it is. That'd be crazy. So I think this stalling and starting issue is about to show its ugly head here. I'm driving back from O'Reilly and stuff, and I just got a battery light. I got a service engine light, and just before they stayed solid, it started bucking like it usually does, like it's going to stall, except the lights stayed on this time. So either I've got a really bad battery connection that was causing that the whole time, which would be stupid, or I'm losing the alternator. I'm not going to shut it off to find out till I get home. I've got, 20 miles, I think. Hopefully we can do 20 miles. But, yeah, so that's interesting. And the temp gauge went to shit. So what does that mean? Why'd the temp gauge go like that? The speedo and the tack are all working, so I don't, it's not like it's a random weird cluster issue, right? I mean, I'll smack on the dash, I'll see what happens, but as you can see, we're at 172,940. I've been putting the miles on eggplant lately. Caravan's been kind of used as storage for some delicate parts for a project, so that's kind of cool. I don't know when you'll see this or what, but here we are, having issues, I guess. I mean, it's driving fine right now. I don't know. Like, I could accelerate, and it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's running fine right now. I don't know what it's thinking right now. It's doing something weird. But it had the same symptoms as normal, and then it got worse. Which might make it easier to diagnose, because right now it's a really, really hard to diagnose issue because it just goes away, and then it's fine. Well, I made it home. Fans are on full blast. Obviously, this is not working. It's starting to surge. Doesn't feel like it's hot, so it's not overheating, but something's gone wrong. I wiggled these. I can move them if I try, but I always leave them like that so I can quick disconnect. But that didn't fix the battery light or anything, so that's not it. So I'm trying to wiggle wires and here, fix that. But it's surging idle. I mean, we can shut it off, hook the code reader to it, and find out. I just hope it saves a code. So let's us hook to this, then we'll shut it off. Come to life. I got battery power because the lights all stayed on. Please tell us something. Oh, look, codes. Engine coolant temperature sensor circuit, low voltage. That makes sense. Battery temperature sensor voltage too low. That's a weird sensor to have. I didn't know we had a battery temp sensor. Downstream oxygen sensor voltages shorted to ground. Look, a ground short. Let me take some photos of that. All right, well, there's our issue. And it stayed on. Code stayed on. Well, so I guess when it has an issue with the coolant temp sensor, it goes to full fans, which is probably a good thing. We have a ground short on the wire harness. Question is where? Guess I'm not driving this to work tomorrow. Shoot, I'm running out of cars to drive. And I say that unironically because everything is on blocks. So what the hell do I drive to work tomorrow? Great. Well, there's an issue. So I went and I unplugged the back or the front O2 sensor on the manifold. Looked fine. Wires look fine. Started it, no change. Temperature still reading just above 0 when it's cold. Unplugged the temp sensor, and it's still reading above 0 with the temp sensor unhooked. It's back in the wire harness somewhere. If you guys remember, we actually damaged some wires on this pigtail. I just remembered that. And we soldered them back together. I don't wonder if one of those is the issue, or multiple in this case. So it died while I was out there messing with wires and stuff. I couldn't get it to quit. As you can see, the coolant light's still. But it was flashing an engine light at me for a minute there. It was flashing a code and it just quit. Dang it. Hey, guess what? It won't run now. Huh. What the hell is wrong with this thing? Computer actually die? Well, I was able to get this to do this. I got this connector undone. It's got a tab on both sides. And I couldn't get the bottom one, so I plugged it back in, and then it started back up. Still had the same issue with the engine light, the battery light, and full fans and whatnot. So I unhooked the battery because I'm going to have to unhook this to get this whole thing out to get access to the PCM here. And unhooked the battery, and then hooked it back in, and the codes did survive that unhook. So the issue is still present, so it's going to be at least troubleshootable. I'm getting hit by ladybugs right now. To the point where it is retained so we can try things and see what happens. I've still got all the sensors disconnected, both O2 sensors and the temp sensor unhooked, so that's not related at all. So we're going to hook the battery, pull the tray out of the way, so we can get down here to pull the fuse panel out of the way to get at the PCM. So we don't have to pull the tray with the battery out of the way. This whole thing swivels, which is actually really nice. And these are all connectors at the bottom of this fuse panel. So, guy wouldn't probably hurt to undo these and start looking, but we're going to get to this bottom connector, which if you notice is missing the plastic covering that I would think it should have, which would in theory allow moisture through here if the rubber seal is no good. We'll see. I'm going to pull it apart and we'll look at it. Okay, the plugs themselves look okay, both of them. Everything looks good, computer and car side. So I think my next plan of action is I'm actually going to get the service manual out. I'm going to try find the diagnosis for these codes and probably start running a multimeter to like the temp sensor and stuff and just seeing what the wires read coming into here. Make sure the cabling isn't the issue. Once we eliminate the cabling, we know that this is the issue. I mean, plain and simple, we've eliminated the sensors being the problem. If we eliminate the cables, which have been repaired, I don't know if the cables specific for those sensors have been repaired, but the cables themselves have been repaired. So if we can verify whether those are good or not, we'll go with that. But I'll plug this back in real quick, hook the battery up, just seeing if a reseat fixes it first. Okay, so we've got the 1997 Powertrain Control Diagnostic Procedures. And we are on test 38. ECT sensor voltage too low. P0117. And here's the wiring diagram for it. Sensor is 2 wires. As you can see here, 2 wires. Those wires go from sensor to the powertrain control module with pin numbers. All we got to do is verify if those 2 wires are good. If those 2 wires are good, there's the problem. Easy enough, huh? So, visually inspect the wire harness, check. We've done all that. Related harness, we check that. Look for chafing. We've checked those. Check that. Harness looks good visually. We don't care about the bulletins. Engine DRB, read coolant temp sensor voltage. Is coolant below 5 volts? We should be able to do that with my scanner, to be fair. I think I can do that with mine. Let me check and bring you back and see what the temp sensor voltage is. I think I can do that. We'll see. Okay, so we're looking ignition on. We've got ignition on. We're looking for coolant temp sensor voltage. Let's go look at that voltage. I do have a computer that can read this voltage. This Genesis here with this Chrysler input on OBD2. We're seeing 0.0 volts. Okay, so we're showing 0 volts. I plugged the sensor back in, by the way, for this testing. So is the engine coolant temp sensor below 0.5 volt? Yes, it is. Continue test on the next page. Is it below half a volt? Yes. We're here. This is ours. Disconnect the engine coolant temperature sensor. Okay, we will do that. If I can, I just had it off too. There it goes. Okay, it's off. Unhooked. Read the engine temperature sensor voltage. Voltage 0. We'll back out and we'll go back in to verify that. Get my bug. Zero volts. 0. 0. Is it moving at all? So, is it above 4 volts? No. Key off. Disconnect the powertrain control module. Using an ohms meter, you measure the ECT sensor signal circuit, and we're looking for resistance. We're going to go check this. So, figure 1 or 2. Here's figure 2. So, I will take a look, and I will bring it back with the results. Okay, so I just measured the resistance from the sensor to pin 26 here, which is, so cavity 1, which is this guy, to pin 26, which is like that one right there, and it reads 0. So, is the resistance below 5 ohms? Yes. Repair sensor signal circuit for a short to ground. So, this sensor is telling us there is a bad wire. PCM disconnected. Not the issue, at least with that. So, I'm going to look really close in this harness, probably go from there to here, here to there, and start looking. And let's find this short. So I think I'm kind of dumb. I misunderstood this. See how we disconnected the PCM? We did that, right? And then we tested the sensor signal circuit. So it didn't make sense to me, but I just followed the what it said, right? So I went off the wire for the sensor signal, and I went to there, and it ohmed out to 0. Well, that means the wire is good. So there's resistors in this circuit, and I guess so. Sensor is a resistance varies depending on temperature, so it makes sense for more accurate signal passes through a resistor. So there's resistors in the sensor, right? Well, idiot, to measure the resistance of the resistors on that circuit, you have to have that plugged in, meaning you just measure both ends of that whole circuit. Oh, and look what we're reading, just fine. So we started test 30A. We measured the voltage. It was below 5 volts, so we went to the next page. Disconnected the temperature, checked the voltage. Voltage was still below 4 volts. Key off, disconnect the module. Using ohms meter, do the whole circuit, so you need both ends of the circuit, which are right there and there. 43 and whatever, 26, I think it is. Right there. Is resistance below 5 ohms? No. No, it's not. We initially said yes because I didn't test for it right, so I pulled the whole harness apart looking for a short to ground that wasn't there because we measured no resistance on the wire. Anyway, that's all got to get rewrapped now, but that's cool, right? So, wasted time there, cutting that all out carefully. That was a pain in the butt. So, no, it's not. Measure the resistance between the sensor signal circuit and the sensor ground circuit. It's resistance below 5 ohms. No. So what's the difference between this right here? So sensor signal and sensor ground. Are the two of them together a circuit? Because what that's saying is right here is measure circuit, measure the resistance between the ECT sensor signal circuit and the ground circuit. Resistance between the two circuits, we just did that. It's 542. And it's changing as this thing cools down, I think. Replace powertrain control module. Right? I think I did that right now. It's plugged into the sensor. Measure the resistance. The resistance is good. The PCM is not giving voltage to the circuit to provide a signal back. Well, we diagnosed that sensor is good. It is not getting voltage from the PCM. And same with that phantom battery temp sensor that doesn't exist. The only reason that code's triggered because something's wrong with that. So I ordered a new one. It was $200. It'll be here in a week. I'm going to cobble this together to be able to drive it to storage so I can have another van so I can not drive my truck to work every day because that thing eats gas. So, yeah, I'm going to like I said, I'm going to cobble this back together so we're good to go. Well, it's all back together. I added some zip ties stuff here. Got these zip tied back down there. Got this all back together. It's all wrapped in E-tape and then friction tape, and then we put all of the coverings and plastics back over it and tape those down too. So it's good to go. It's running. Same codes. Fans are still on. I'm going to drive it over and swap it out with the 05, and I'll be driving the 05 until we get the PCM in and get that replaced. That way I don't have to drive the truck to work. But it should make it to where I have it stored. Well, out with the old, in with the refurbished. So it's got 3 screws holding it, so pull the battery, pop this down, you get the 2 like this, and then you get 1 down below here. And that gets the computer out of the way. Might as well clean all this netting up, or webbing, slide the new one in there quick, and then we'll test it real quick. Hopefully the issues go away. I plugged it back in. I had it sitting for a week, and all of the codes and issues were still there, so we'll know right away if we fix the issue. Well, shiny new computer's in. Moment of truth here, just hooked the battery up. Does it run? Do we have a temp gauge? Please. Oh my, look at that. There it is, up to temp. Because we were just driving it. Bingo. What's his name-o? And the D-van is fixed. Eggplant is fully fixed. We figured out the final issue with it before I managed to sell it. And now I'm going to continue to drive it until I do. Very good. Very good. It should roll 173 tomorrow. I guess you guys will get one more video out of this van after all. So, as we figure out the PCM is bad. So, we've done the body control module. Done the powertrain control module. Hang in there, transmission control module. Hang in there, pal. Yeah. Look at that. She's all fixed. Alright. And that'll do it, I think. That will do it. Thank you guys for watching this little, I think it's a short little episode on Eggplant, our 1997 Dodge Grand Caravan SE.